Welcome to Roll for Crit. Today we're here to talk about Kickstarter, but not our Kickstarter Pickstarters, but a little trouble in paradise. It seems one company has got a little bit of trouble with Kickstarter, has had some of their campaigns suspended.
That's right. Kolossal Games has had 3 different campaigns suspended, those being for Papillon, Hunt of the Ravager, and Folding Space. All 3 of these were under different Kickstarter accounts. Folding Space, in that case, was a company called Maple Games, but they were working with Kolossal Games. And according to Kickstarter's rules, you are not allowed to have multiple concurrent Kickstarters running at the same time. You are also not supposed to have a new Kickstarter if you have a previous one that hasn't been fulfilled yet, although we can talk more about that later, that is something that they very rarely enforce. Kolossal Games, I don't think is a disreputable company. In fact, 2 of those games we mentioned on our Kickstarter Pickstarters recently. So, they've put out things in the past. They always have interesting looking projects, I think, for the most part, that we've wanted to try and play, but it seems like they've just overextended themselves a bit.
Yeah, and from what I can tell, there are 7 or 8 other Kickstarters that have been fully funded for them that have not been received yet. I have actually backed one of them, which is Mezzo. I do think it looked really cool and fun, but from what I could tell, it's not like they're, how sometimes they're like way off track in their prediction. I think their oldest ones, like 2 or 3, are like a few months off, but I mean, for a Kickstarter, for a board game, that's not that crazy.
It's not a situation where
they disappeared like some of the other ones.
They're off the face of the earth. I mean, it is, I guess you have to start getting to a point when it's 7 or 8 and none of them have come out yet.
You have to be like, okay, hold.
Yeah, if you're a consumer, you're thinking, well, maybe this is a little bit risky because that's a lot of, it seems like a lot of games to have in the pipeline, but then maybe you look at a company, other bigger companies, and they have that many games or more coming out every year. So,
part of the problem too is, sometimes you go and do research, but maybe you don't do too much. You just see if they have other funded projects. And if you see 7 other funded, you're like, oh, great. If they have 7, then people might have backed, not realizing they all happened at such a close time period. No one really had time to argue if it took too long to receive it or the quality of the products.
Yeah, it might be misleading. What do you think about, so let's talk about this Kickstarter rule that doesn't get enforced, that you're not supposed to start a new project if you're old enough.
Yeah, that can't be the anscer, because
no, I don't think it is.
Simon would definitely be hit by that.
Simon, Steamforged.
I think even the Dungeonology, another one we mentioned, we mentioned Kickstarter, I haven't received from them
There's
yet.
numerous big companies that people support and that I don't think they're not pulling any scams. It's just
Sandy
what
Peterson,
it is.
I know.
Yes. So, do you think that, should that rule even be in place on Kickstarter? And if it is, why did they not care? Why even?
Well, I think part of it is, for example, I don't think it's a fault of Sandy Peterson, for example. I got my stuff. And maybe it's not the exact time and stuff happens, but it was within a reasonable time period. I still got my Cthulhu Wars, and I'm very excited to get my cats.
Yeah.
But, there are some times when I can see that rule being, it could be maybe worded differently, I think would be the best. Maybe saying, if you have too many concurrent Kickstarters before delivering, you may be investigated.
That sounds good. Yeah, I think they're a lot more sensible and actually gets across what they actually seem to do. Maybe even, I don't know if it'd be too much to say one company can't have more than this many in a given period. You can only have...
yeah, that's another good one, too.
Mm-hmm, something like that.
Both, especially with board games, when you have all these, our mini games, it takes a while to make them. Look at Simon, the most recent one I backed from them. It was a while ago, or that I can think of, but was the Cthulhu Must Die.
Cthulhu Death Must Die.
Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't back it, but they had the
giant
3-foot Cthulhu statue.
Mini.
Is it still a miniature at that point?
It's a large mini.
It's an action figure.
It's bigger than your dog. But yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. Now, what do you think about Kolossal? Because in this case, they were definitely. This is a rule that Kickstarter doesn't enforce. Obviously, they had 3.
Yeah, that's the other problem, though. All these, the 2 I mentioned, like Sandy Peterson and Simon, the ones that we bring up, it's still Sandy Peterson and Simon. There isn't Peterson Cthulhu Games or Cool Figures.
And I will give them the benefit of the doubt at least to say that it's not a situation where I think they were trying to skirt the rules, because one of their other profile names was like Kolossal Games Micro. So I think it was just a misunderstanding that they didn't realize they weren't supposed to do that, because they weren't trying to hide anything. You might argue that Maple Games was a little bit that, but their name was still on that page. So I think they just didn't understand. And I don't think that there's anything shady going on. I think it's just a mistake.
It's sort of like it feels a little shady, but not in the sense where, like, I still don't feel worried about my Mezzo pledge just yet. But it's definitely one of those things like, okay, maybe you should have held back, because I could see it almost being like a Ponzi scheme, like the money from this Kickstarter is funding this Kickstarter,
and we've seen that before.
Yeah, that's the thing though, that we saw that collapse.
Right.
So as far as I know, they haven't collapsed yet.
Yeah.
They still seem to be on track with the other Kickstarters from what.
And all their games seem like they're games. It doesn't seem like they just put up a bunch of assets and art and there's not anything there.
I mean, that's true, but the one I think particularly everyone was always bringing up that's similar to the Ponzi scheme idea was was it Ninja Division or Soda Pop?
One of those, maybe.
Because I think they used to be together and they separated or something.
Ninja Division, I think, is.
And they used to be at Gen Cons and stuff. So I mean, just because they seem and make games and stuff.
Right. I think the differentiation is that I don't think anything they're doing is malicious, but I think if anything they just overextended themselves.
I think that's I'm much more likely to think that, but I'm just saying
you're not ruling it out. Yeah. I mean that is fair. That is fair. Yeah. We'll see. They haven't made a statement outside of just saying this was taken down. We're looking into it. We're gonna relaunch. But when that's going to happen, how it's going to happen, I don't know.
I hope I still get my Mezzo game.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's really what it comes down to is in the next 6 months to a year, if some of those projects don't start coming out.
I think the original three, I have to double check on this. You can look at the Reddit page. We'll put a link to that where we originally found this. So I mentioned, I think that the original ones were supposed to be slated for this month, and they got pushed to June, July. So we're going to find out in 3. I think so, much sooner.
Yeah, well,
if they deliver in the next 3 months, that's a lot safer. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be like, okay, this is, as you said, just an overextension.
Yeah. Kolossal Games, they are in a colossal bit of trouble. Talk to us in the comments. Are you one of the people who backed one of these games? Did you perhaps do it on our recommendation and now you regret it and are planning to get revenge on us? I don't know.
If you're Kolossal Games, maybe you could contact us and let us know.
We'd love to hear it straight from the horse's mouth. What your thoughts are on all these things, all this situation, and in general, what you think Kickstarter's policies should be on these types of issues going forward. Let us know. You can also find us online, rollforcrit.com or Twitter, Facebook, social media, etc. And I look forward to more stuff coming out later. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Will.
And this was Roll for Crit.
Hey, if you like what you saw, don't forget to subscribe and like this video for more excellent board game content.
Heck yeah!